There's a lot of money in gender identity. That's why I call it gender, because it is an industry. Remember, it was a couple weeks ago, there was some feminist Marxist, at least nominally, who was all up in my grill about calling it an industry. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
No one calls it an industry. That's stupid. I'm like, oh, really? It's not an industry. Why don't you explain to me how gender hasn't become an industry? Of all the things to come at me from a Marxist to get irritated about a communist symbol in her bio, how is this not an industry? It's like that was the controversial part of that statement. The industry, of course, sustains itself by promoting the narrative that gender identity is central to personal fulfillment and societal progress. It's not the money. That's just a happy coinkydink. All the money and all the jobs and all the careers and all the virtue signaling and all this, that, and whatever. That's just, don't look at that. That's just secondary.
No. Right.
It's really about
the wealth.
Yes. And that's especially where the advocacy and the media comes in. Kamala Harris writing Dylan Mulvaney a letter on his 1 year of girlhood, living authentically.
Oh, God. Seems to be such a headache, that guy.
So there's conflicts of interest because you have the financial and institutional incentives raise questions about whether the promotion of gender ideology and all this stuff that follows from it serves actually these poor people who have these, I don't even know, what should I call it? Unique. Okay, let me think about my words here. So it serves those who have these minority gender identities, or if it serves the industry itself.
Right.
So all the activist organizations advocating now for so-called gender identity rights are receiving significant funding from donors, often channeling these resources into lobbying, legal battles, and public quote-unquote awareness campaigns. Public awareness sounds fantastic, but are you raising my awareness or are you indoctrinating or gaslighting me?
Not like telling people not to leave their pets in the car in summer, right? Which is, like awareness. That's helpful. But telling impressionable young people who all seem to be on some kinds of meds anyways for their anxiety or depression or ADHD, or telling these kids that, oh, well, you might be feeling sad because you're born in the wrong body, that's total indoctrination.
Yeah, they haven't been able to articulate or to specify their particular gender identity. That's the problem. So many of these organizations partner with corporations for visibility funding and to push so-called diversity initiatives that, of course, include gender identity as a key component. Let's remember that what gender identity means in practice is that we go along as if there are male women and female women and male men and female men. So undermining or blurring what used to be common sense and clearly defined girl, boy, man, woman. So now there's this unintentional, just born this way women. And then there's the male women who have something called a woman gender identity that is not measurable or objectively determined or anything like that. It's basically a claim. And since these unicorns have this claim very insistently, this becomes something that we should, affirm and recognize and incorporate.
Yes, respect.
And I only know this because my awareness has been raised.
Totally.
We cannot protect women and girls from harmful sex discrimination, invasions of their sexual privacy, and sex-based violence against women and girls if sex is judicially redefined to mean an amorphous continuum of subjectively felt genders that may not relate to sex at all. Further, we are clear about our sex. Listen, boys, and listen, everybody. We are female human beings. This recognition is demonstrably more accurate than notions from the framework of so-called gender identity. In fact, not a single one of us has a gender identity at all. Do you have a gender identity, Tanya?
I don't, but sometimes I've toyed with the idea of having something really cool, maverick, renegade gender, hey? Because they actually exist. There's websites and there's 300 and you can pick. And you can change as much as you want. Why do I have to be a boring middle-aged? Why can't I be a renegade gender? How fun is that?
And all the accoutrements, like your birthstone, you can have your gender stone. I love Daniel. He's good for the comedy.
My father actually says this shit. The fact he has absorbed this nonsense just indicates to me that Trumpism is now pure mockery. I think it's over.
Who types to their dad "Happy Election Day" with an exclamation point?
To generate content.
Same to you. May the commies lose. Go Trump. And he tweets later.
My dad sent me a photo of him and his girlfriend both wearing trash bags at a polling place. He wrote, "Trash wins." So yeah, I think culture war identity politics was a catastrophic mistake all around.
Do you, Daniel? You're the dude who will say trans women are women. And if Tut for these guys, Tut would say that these are women, but identity politics all around. Daniel, please take a seat. He's trying to cover his bases now. He sees which way the winds are blowing. Oh, everybody was guilty of identity politics. To quote Zizek at him, he lacks the language to be able to articulate his particular form of unfreedom.
Why is that man wearing a skirt?
Emperor's new skirt.
Was he a United
Well,
States?
one's a trans woman and one's a non-binary. And one's a she, her now. And even though he has a wife and kids, we all know that what makes a woman is putting on a woman outfit.
Even the pantyhose. I mean,
James transphobe, shush. Anyway.
Grandpa dressing like that. Like, what the heck?
I have to dig into him because he thinks I'm a fascist transphobe because I'm not a sex denialist. And I don't think it's empowering for there to be male women. I love that I was able to say, did you explain to him that Trump is a father of the horde figure and does tweets that make sex mimics cry? So I wrote back, your dad sounds based. Someone I could have a beer with. I bet he knows there's no such thing as male women. I'm Team Daddy Tut. I'm all King Dad Tut.
Posting your L's.
Hey, man, I'm sure that next Delusian reading group you have will really build bridges. Maybe RFK is right. Maybe there's been like a concerted effort to reduce the testosterone.
There must be.
And Alex
Have you been
Jones.
tested, Garrett? What's your T level?
Toxic.
What's your masculinity level? Is it toxic, Anthony, or is it just right?
I think it's fully toxic from how I'm being perceived by people.
I love Daniel. He's good for the comedy, but not intentionally.
I was just thinking maybe science would have something to say about having your genitals rearranged surgically.
Because it's reducing distress. Yeah. If you're dysphoric, which means unhappy about your female body, if you're a woman, or your male body, if you're a man, you have a bad feeling. And so what they're doing is reducing that bad feeling. Ergo, it must be somehow good, scientific, etc. Yeah.
You know what? I have a friend who's a wound care nurse of like 30 years. She's a total pro. She's nice to the gender people, but she was telling me that she sees a lot of young women who've had the surgery who come in peeing like out of 4 places because of their rupture.
Of course.
So I guess feeling sad is worse than peeing out of 4 places.
Mm-hmm. And we
feel
know
sad.
a common problem for the guys. So guys, tuck, don't cut. Because a lot of the guys who go through the bottom surgery complain of anal leakage. So apparently the lining, I don't know, between the perineum and where the poop comes out of, there's seepage. So your fake vagina smells like poop.
Right.
Poop has never come out of my vagina.
God. Can you imagine? The boys
3
who've
babies
had,
have, but
who've had the puberty blockers, so they have micro penises, so their penises never grow to adult length. So they don't have enough tissue to make a Frankenvag, so they have to use part of the colon, and that also smells bad. At least they're not feeling sad at night, right?
Yeah,
At least they're not dysphoric.
it's a different. You're not worried about that anymore. You're worried about infections and weird smells and having to dilate. Anyway, but fortunately, most men who claim that they're women don't go in for the full package, the full gender kit. All right, let's see how this is going. Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello. Hi.
I got my slinky ding going on. How are we doing here? Gotta see. Hi, everyone. Oh, sorry. Welcome to Morbid Symptoms. I'm having a series. I usually use my desktop, but my computer, my keyboard stopped working. Like half the buttons stopped working, and so I had to quickly try to arrange it with my laptop. But some of the stuff is on top of my computer, and some of the stuff is on the laptop. So I was like, "What's happening?" Now I'm just ahead. It's okay. I'll fix that in a minute.
I'm just ahead too.
I got to figure out. Anyway, this is the Morbid Symptoms show, and we're doing our sex gender war update, focusing on Trump v. GenderBorg, focusing on mostly his State of the Union speech and the reactions to it. And we'll get to some other things. But while I do that, why don't you introduce yourself, Tanya, and you can introduce Slava, or have Slava introduce herself, and I'm going to play around with my camera for just a moment.
Okay, I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see this lovely young woman. Hi, Slava. Nice to
Hi.
meet you. So nice
Thank
and
you for
young.
having me.
You should introduce yourself. There's nothing for me to introduce. I'm still drinking my morning caffeine.
Anyway, Slava is, I can do it. Slava is somewhere in the Midwest. We won't say where. And she is affiliated with the American Communist Party, but she is here of her own accord. She's not here representing any organization. So Slava, just say whatever it is you'd like to say, and I'm just going to fiddle around with my camera for just a moment.
Of course, yeah. So that's true. I'm a member of the ACP. I'm Ukrainian. I was born and raised in Ukraine, and then I moved to United States about 13 years ago. So my English is still a little wonky. I hope you can get it.
No, we understand you. Perfect.
Awesome.
I'm perfect.
Yeah, when I moved to United States, I didn't know any English, so I had to kind of like learn on the go. And now my children are correcting me. It's not I'm teaching them, but they're teaching me, because kids, they're just picking up everything so much faster. And my older daughter, she was born in Ukraine, but when we moved here, she was still young, so it was easy for her to learn. My second daughter was born here, so of course English is her first language, and they speak Ukrainian a little, but they don't really want to talk in Ukrainian unless it's with grandma, because grandma doesn't know English, and so they have to, they have to adapt, right? But with me, we're just speaking English at home, and yeah, I've been here for so long that now I consider myself American.
Ooh, been Americanized.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not that hard,
actually. There we go.
But
Tanya,
of course,
do I
there's
look like a
certain things
vampire?
that I wish I didn't have to.
Right, Tanya, do I look like a vampire? Do I look okay?
No, you look good. I'm getting used to all your different backgrounds.
Well, it's because
change resistant.
This is because it's a blanket, because the green screen thing I didn't do the measurements right, so it doesn't cover all of it. Anyway, it's one step forward, two steps back with me in this whole thing. But look, I borrowed my daughter's flowers from her birthday, so I got some flowers going on there.
We can't see them because your name is blocking it. Tara
Is
Van
it?
Dyke.
Yeah.
You got to move them to the other side. Or there's
hold
always
on. Let me do my hi, peoples. And this is exciting for you. Don't worry. We're gonna get into the stuff that'll get canceled at work in just a moment.
Speaking of flowers, I was playing around with flowers
camera
all day.
Now can you see them?
Because
I can see them better.
Oh, there you go.
Do you have flowers with you? You have some nice flowers too, Slava. How nice.
Yeah, and she has the red American there. Look at that.
That's our party's journal, and these are dry flowers that I have arranged, but
pretty.
True, Betty Homemaker.
I love the Fort Marin vase.
I bet that her whole room is clean, not just the part that can be seen, like the current place I'm in.
Yeah, she seems like she's got on top of that, right?
Yeah. Anyway, Slava, welcome. So let's see. Let me get into this. So did either of you watch part of the State of the Union? Was it not last night, but the night before?
I'm sorry, I did not. No.
It's okay. I did part of it. part of it. So anyway, here's a picture of is this yeah. So this is a picture from this isn't a picture from last night, but it's from a few weeks ago when the devil man he who shall not be named signed executive orders basically saying that, yeah, girls' sports are for girls and women's sports are for women. And Tanya and I talked about this the last time about what a win this was, that all the crazy people allowed him to have the shot full of a room of appreciative women from very young to very old, a kaleidoscope of color and backgrounds, being like, yeah, and he's there like, you know, like he's fine, you know, being grandpa, handing out pens, you know.
He sure makes some gestures, hey? Like,
yeah.
such a character.
But there's another thing. So you look at this, oh, you know, saving the ladies' sports. And so, and we talked about last time, we covered some of the responses because basically, yeah, not a shock that neither Tanya or I, and I think I don't want to put words in Slava's mouth, but she's probably not a Trump do or dyer. But when the guy does things that we like, we're gonna be like, cool. We're not gonna pretend that he didn't do them or that it's bad because he did them. It's like we're all for this, cool. It doesn't mean we can't then say like, but your Israel-Gaza thing, hello, or whatever it is, or whatever's going on. But so far, he has done everything he said he was going to do in terms of the gender craziness. And I'm like, thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, credit when credit is due. I mean, it's undeniable.
Yeah. So we talked a bit about how just the left was still not getting it. And to clarify, I know when you hear that, it kind of makes you cringe, and I get that, but I use that term today like how it's used normally in terms of the left and right. So when you talk about the left in the United States, which I'm sure makes you crazy, they're thinking, okay, Democratic Party, yeah? And the right is the Republican Party. So I'm also saying, when I say left, I mean the Democratic Party and everything else, with a few exceptions. Yeah, the few exceptions.
The adjacent.
Yeah. So we talked about how, the DSA is all on the gender train. Yeah. The trans women are women, and asking trans women not to go into the ladies' room or women's sports is like apartheid. And they want
genocide.
They want the Dr. Genderstein gender clinics to remain open, this type of stuff. Same thing with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They love. Do you know who Andrea Long Chu is, Slava?
No.
Oh, lucky you.
Good for a treat.
Because I'll let Tanya tell you just in a nutshell who Andrea Long Chu is and how she's like the favorite trans person of the PSL.
He's a writer and a sex mimic and a wild fetishist. Like he's admitting it. He's like, it's porn. I think it was him who uttered the famous I'm a woman because because I'm made love to like a woman. He has a universal woman. I'm sorry I even started this first thing in the morning.
Okay, I can do it. I'm back now. So this lovely person is an autogonophile, works for the New Yorker, won some prizes, and talked about the universal vagina is the asshole. And anyone who's to be penetrated or effed is to be a woman, is to be female. And they love him at the PSL. Ooh, do they love him? But we have another person to add to the mix, Slava.
Sure we do.
We do. And it is Democracy Now!
Oh, God.
So Democracy Now! Today had on, who is this person? Amara Jones. I bet you can't tell who here has to see the genitals to know if this is a man or a woman.
She's such a delicate flower of femininity. Yeah, look at that.
But Jones came on and complained about Trump declaring war on trans people. War on trans people. So they had Amara on to talk about this in Democracy Now! Today and about how important it is gender-affirming care saves lives. Slava, do you agree that gender-affirming care saves lives?
Nope. It ruins lots of lives.
Yeah.
Poor children. It's just crazy what they have to go through. My older daughter is in high school now, and it's like a nonstop battle, because even though Trump became president, like these what we call blue states, right? Like I live in a blue state, and they don't care what Trump is doing. They keep pushing their agenda. And in the schools, they have the so-called health class, right? And so they keep on brainwashing little children that you have a right to choose, you can choose whatever identity you want, and so on and on, right? And pronouns, like the first day of school is always, every single teacher is asking children, what pronouns should I use? Are these the same pronouns as your parents are using with you? Do you want us to use different pronouns with you, versus when your parents are coming for the parent teacher conference? We can pretend we can use your at home pronouns with your parents, but with you we can use different pronouns. And they keep on saying this to children, and so they're always confused, like they're stressed, confused. And there's so many cases of suicide. Like this year there was a suicide in my daughter's school. Last year one of her friends almost did it. My daughter saved her. It's like, it's crazy what and I don't understand.
What did that have to do, and to your knowledge, what did that have to do with the gender ideology stuff at school?
These children, that they were thinking that they're in the wrong body, like they were just so confused, they were feeling depressed, not happy, and so teachers were like, oh, maybe you're not in the right body, maybe that's why you're depressed and sad, like they're making these kids questioning their whole identity, which children are depressed for various reasons. There may be problems at home, there may be overwhelmed with homework or other issues. Like, for example, last year a lot of young kids were very upset because of the whole Palestine situation, right? Like my daughter was telling me that there was nobody in their school who would be on the side of Israel. Like everyone was pro-Palestine and anti-genocide, and kids were really upset because of that whole situation. They were seeing these videos on TikTok and Instagram of children being, under the rubble, and it was making them upset. So the whole political situation also affects children because they have now access to the social media. Before, it was not such a case, right? So kids had their basically safe childhood. Nowadays, they don't. They can see everything that's happening. So all the bombing, all the genocide, and it affects them. But then when teachers who should be helping and supporting, they're not. They're playing devil's role, right? And they're adding to their stress by questioning their identity and making them confused about their relationship with parents. Like this is what I have most problem with, right? Like, don't stand in between the parents and children. Like that's not the job of teachers.
No. Tanya, do you want to say anything to that?
Well, that was a great overview of a mother's experience of genderism at school. It's shocking for me to hear that. No, I'm assuming that Slava's children aren't some sort of, Hollywood hipster kids. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that they're just sort of regular kids that are regular.
Play dates with what's that lady's name? Oh crap, the blonde who has the two trans kids.
The beautiful one, the tall one, Charlize.
Yeah, Charlize Theron.
Right?
Yeah. Two of my sons are trans. Are they? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I mean, it's just, I'm familiar with it because I've been turfing for years, but Slava, when you first encountered it, what did you think? How did you first hear about it? How did you first find out that teachers were doing pronouns? And did you go like, what the hell is a pronoun? Or what was the meeting like between genderism and your family?
Yeah, when when my older kid went to middle school, so this was a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that's the first time I heard it. And I was like, what do you mean pronoun? Like, I'm like, everyone has one from birth. Like, I'm like, it shouldn't change. Why it should
Right.
change? I was so shocked because,
Mhm.
as an immigrant, I was, I was first working like 2, 3 jobs. Then I was stay-at-home mom for a little, and I was just not in the loop.
Mm.
So then, learning bit by bit from kids, and seeing their homework and seeing all these assignments and all these sex ed, right, sex education program, because I was trying to like be on top of everything that my kids are learning, like looking at their curriculum and seeing every lesson and everything. And when I, first in elementary school, the sex ed is nothing. it's
Right.
like, very simple, right?
Right. Where do babies
But
come
then
from?
middle school and high school, when it gets serious. And
Mhm.
so now that my older daughter is in high school, it's just getting crazy. And
Mm.
I'm thinking of like opting her out of this last quarters, which is supposed to start in 2 weeks. They're supposed to start like this hardcore sex ed, and I'm thinking of just going and taking her out of it, because it's just not appropriate.
Mm.
I don't think at the age of 15 she should be learning those things.
Mhm. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
have 3 kids, and I'm not in the United States at the moment. At the moment. Oh, catch me if you can. Um, but yeah, it's just I'm glad that I got cued into this before it really became an issue with my younger kids, or before in their school, because then I was prepared for it, so I could ask, okay, what are they saying? Because I realized that if you go to the school, what they're going to tell you is like, oh, well, this is what's decided at whatever level. Yeah, some magical godlike bureaucrat. They just have to do it, you know? And so my thing was, okay, well, I want to know what the thing is, so I can combat all the craziness at home, and they didn't want to hear that, but whatever. And there was a couple of times when I got a call about something one of my daughters said, and they couldn't come out and say that they didn't like what she said or that she couldn't say it, but they're really trying to get to me like how it might hurt somebody else in the class. And I was like, well, if her saying that she believes that, that there's boys and girls, and that if you're a girl, you'll always be a girl, if that's harmful to someone in that class, that's their problem.
Yeah.
It's like they want me to be the bad guy. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you want to tell her that, then go ahead. But then I will see you at some point, because most of them know it's bullshit, but they don't want to put their head above the parapet. That means they don't want to stand out because they see what
Right.
happens. And then you
Right.
have the true believers, who really think that it's oppressive if you don't let a child select their gender, or will tell kids, oh, you can be, like you said, oh, well, you get to choose if you're a girl or a boy or both or neither. Isn't that fun? Should we think about it? And I've said this a couple of times before on the show, is like, to red flag, if anyone asks my kids to think about exploring their gender, they're going to have a serious conversation with me. I mean, that's just pervy.
It really is. It really is pervy. The whole thing.
Confusing and or pervy or both.
Hmm.
But it's hard. I realize not everybody is comfortable having saying this, or can risk the social or the economic, whatever. But I was just, and then people don't believe you if they don't have kids, or if they're not
No.
aware of it. Oh, that's not going on. I'm like, really?
Yeah, they don't believe it.
Oh, it's going on, brother. It's going on. It's crazy. Even in
Yeah.
biology class, my kid showed me this book. It was 2 years ago. She's in grade 6. Yeah, year 6. And even in the biology book, it was a fairly new edition, and they made a point, because they were talking about, I don't know, about genetics or something going on there with the egg, and I can't remember the actual technical term, but they made a point of saying, we're talking about sex here, not gender. That's different.
Yeah.
In a
So-
biology book. That's
so
something
ridiculous.
personal, is it?
And the younger they go with kids, right? With this kind of brainwashing, they come up with more with different types of so-called gender, right? Like they came up with the cat, like you can feel like a cat, right? And tell
And
me, like what young kids, like girls especially, what young girls don't like cats? Like they all love cats. They adore them. Like we here have 3 cats and my girls love them. And so if we were that type of a family that we would be all accepting and everything, right? They would probably hear it and it'll be like, yeah, I want to be a cat.
Yeah, that's nice.
You know?
Well, you know, so Tony, do you want to say anything at this point?
Yeah, it's so overwhelming, isn't it? I learned about genderism. I mean, not the old kind of Germaine Greer, but the modern thing that is upon us, this kind of miasma we're in. I learned about it because my kid was being shown Jazz Jennings at school, the TV show, and came home and told me about how, oh, you know, some poor little boy who's really a girl didn't get to be the lead in Charlotte's Web, and isn't that too bad for the boys who are, it's crazy. It's just insane. And even now that she's older, she's lost friends. Has your daughter lost friends? Because, you know, the friend will have some gender identity and someone will say the wrong thing and then everyone will come together to chase that person out and, you know, struggle session them and, oh my God, you didn't use so and so's pronouns. You know, you don't accept so and so's maverick gender or whatever the hell gender they are. And then they squeeze it, and then a lot of the teachers have tuned. A lot of the teachers are wearing a sex costume, so they have to, you know, call Mr. Brown Ms. Brown now, or, you know, what's happening with the peer pressure at your daughter's school? That must be pretty hard for her, teenager.
Yeah, well, she did have some friends who turned the other way, right? But then over the time, she just started being friendly was more traditional, right? Conservative type of girls. Most of them come from like religious backgrounds, so there's like I think as of right now, all of her friends are Muslim, and so it's easy. Now her whole friend group is they don't think about these type of things.
That's good that they have that. There's an option for that there.
Yeah.
Some places there's no option.
And I want to go on that. We all have kids. You don't want to give kids more things to be confused about or to use you as a power trip.
Right.
I mean, the fact that they know that they can play that gender card and make people dance. Some kids, of course, are going to use that. You know. And then the confusion, these concepts, even though they're bullshit, even bullshit. Sorry, Slava. Even BS concepts. I get very trucker. I get very trucker when I'm talking about gender. I'm trying not to. Yeah, even BS concepts, you know, or whatever. There's certain things that are you don't put in an impressionable mind, because I've said this also before that. Even with my youngest is 11 and my oldest is 18. Even with my 18-year-old, if I worked on him for like half a day, I can convince that boy of anything. I could totally do it.
You have a strong personality.
And so, of course, if the people are in a place of authority, like a teacher, and they're making it all colorful and nice, and you get the vibe like this is what you're supposed to be doing and whatever. And then if you have kids, if most people are going around with it, I mean, I just have my daughter, my youngest. She had this was part of what broke up the friendship. I don't think it was all of it, because, you know, when you start getting older, sometimes, you know, friendships don't just last forever.
Yeah.
But her best friend from probably when she was like 7 to 10. Her mom went non-binary, and she has 3 kids, and so her friend was the middle one, and her friend had a younger brother who was like 4 at the time when they started being friends. And at first he was a boy. And then he was a girl, and now he's non-binary. And she just got and she just was like, well, the mom's always moody and this and that. And it just was weird over there. And then it caused tension. And then I think they also grew apart. But she said it was just such a relief, because she was always concerned about, you know, because she could see, because the mom totally reads female, of course, and the boy totally reads boy. But trying to be like, you know, what gender is your youngest sibling? It's so weird. Right. It was just crazy. And guess what? Her mom, a nurse.
Of course. It doesn't have any, yeah. We've seen so many of that.
So
And
it
what
just,
about
yeah, go ahead.
what about your daughter's school? Are there boys in her washrooms? Is she being told that if she sees a gender boy in her washroom that it's her problem? She needs to be quiet? Like, how do you protect your girls if this is going to be an issue when they go to the pool or something, or they go to the movie theater and there's a man in the
Yeah,
toilet?
and unfortunately, I mean, they still have boys and, in girls' bathrooms. It's not like all mixed, which they wanted to do that a while ago, but
Gross.
people were protesting, and so they didn't do it.
Mm.
So occasionally it happens, some incidents, right? But other than that, it's pretty okay, like pretty normal. She doesn't encounter that many so-called girls
So-called
in
girls.
ladies' bathroom. Yeah.
Mm.
Once in a while, she tells me about something like that, but I think they try to keep it on the minimum,
Oh, that's
because
good,
they
I guess.
understand that if they push it too much, people will will do something about it. So just like they're introducing it step by step. Right now they are doing queer prom in the school separately from the regular prom. They're not mixing it together, right? Because they know people will be against it. So yeah, this one. So they have things separate as of right now. But I'm sure the more we allow, the more the society allows it, then they will mix it.
Mhm.
So it's
Well,
it's
of
our
course.
job as parents to
Yeah.
prevent it, I guess.
Well, here's the thing: is that again, because they're going to keep the expression. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Give an inch, take a mile.
Mhm.
That you know the more you agree to this, the more difficult. What we found, what the so-called gender criticals found, is the more you try to be reasonable, the more ground you cede. But the more ground you cede, the harder it becomes to put up boundaries. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you agreed to this and you agreed to that, but you don't agree to this. So, like, how can this be if trans women are women? How can that only be in a certain space and time? It has to be, everywhere. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's difficult. And my thing that my experience was once I realized what was going on here, and a lot of the businesses decided that they should have gender neutral or open gender bathrooms, whatever that is. And so I was irritated because my girls are only like a year and 4 months apart. And there's a certain point we always have to go, they always want to go to the bathroom when you're out, this. And there's a certain point where they're old enough, you're like, okay, they can go together. I don't need to go to the bathroom with them. But then when you add on the fact that there could be some random dude in there asking them for a tampon, then it's like, well, crap, now I have to go.
Right.
And one time I saw someone and he wasn't being too pervy, but I was giving him the eye, like just to let him know that I know.
Yeah,
And you
right.
should be here, but it's just, yeah. And then of course my son is all testosterone. If there's ever a guy in there, you come and get me. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's right. You have my permission.
Right.
Oh my God. Anyway, let's see. So, yeah, so it just shows that and we knew this, but of course it was so long in the desert for us terse, for us people who weren't genderborged. And do you know what I mean by that metaphor, Slava? Genderborged?
Not really.
Okay, that's cool. You're looking smiling at me. I'm gonna tell you, yeah. So have you ever heard of Star Trek?
She's too young.
Well, I heard about it, but I didn't watch it.
Okay, so there's a space
Yeah.
show, yeah. And one of the enemies, like the baddest enemy ever, was called the Borg. And basically they would assimilate, they're like resistance is futile, and they would simulate everybody, and they're like this hive mind, yeah. So there's the Borg queen, but everybody was kind of like, they were all part of one kind of hive mind unit. So we call it GenderBorg. It's like you woke up one day and like 80% of the people are just like, okay, yeah, men can be women and women can be men and people can be both or neither. And you're like, what? That's what that means. So yeah, let's see. So but I'm sorry, what I wanted to say is that what your statement means, and what we can also see here, is that it's great that Trump is doing these executive orders and that this stuff is starting to roll back. At least it sets a tone because with the federal government and whatnot. But of course, you can attest to the fact that it doesn't go away overnight, because there's certain things that are federal, there's certain things that are states. There's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be people screaming about whatever. So even though this has happened, of course, Slava's school district and the state that she's in, is still doing the pronoun thing. They're still having the queer prom, which is for only the queer people, because we're all about segregation. Segregation is now good. No, it's like inclusion is segregation. Inclusion has become segregation and or exclusion. So that's nice. Anyway, I wanted to get to some of the responses to the Trump stuff, because that was great. So first of all, we have this great person.
My favorite guy.
Bill Kristol. And for those of us who don't know, Bill Kristol is like the neocon. I think his dad might have been like the first neocon. I can't remember. But Bill Kristol has always been on the wrong side of every decision. So of course he's a war hawk. He's a big imperialist. He loved Iraq 1 and 2 and Afghanistan. He loves all that stuff. But he's a never Trumper. So he still is, used to be a conservative. I don't know. But he's a never Trumper, yeah? Never Trump, Republican, neocon. I don't know how he identifies. But I'll go ahead and let Tanya read out this fantastic tweet.
Stand with trans Americans. You don't have to understand everything about the transgender experience to know that Trump's acts of humiliation and dehumanization are unjust and dangerous. Wow.
Well,
what a statement.
What do you think about that, Slava?
I wonder what his position on Ukraine is. and does he know that in Ukraine what they do with people like that? It's funny how all these he's a Republican, right, who's a non-Trumper, but then there's all these Democrats who are like pro-Ukraine and support and all of that, and then they're also pro-trans and all this ideology, right? And then when you tell them that these neo-Nazis in Ukraine don't accept anything of trans and gender ideology, and then their brains explode. They can't square that circle anymore.
Yeah. Well, they had a Troon reporter for Ukraine. What was his name? Cirillo.
Well,
do you remember him?
Suddenly, yes, and so he came in there as a woman. He came out as a man.
Ukraine will turn you back.
Made a man out of him again.
Thank you, Azza.
Oh my God. Well, you want to say anything about this, Tanya?
About Bill Kristol?
Yes, about his proclamation.
You know, I don't think I can say anything better than you did, that he's always on the wrong side of every issue. You need to make him a t-shirt for his birthday and send that to him.
Bill Kristol. But he fails up, I didn't read this whole thing because I could imagine. This is what, I don't know. I'm sorry about these references, but there's also what we call the Donnies, or I call the Donnie, because one of my favorite movies is The Big Lebowski. And there's this character in it called Donnie, and there's this great scene, and he's always like coming in halfway in conversations and like wanting to, and then the people get mad at him. So that's why I'm calling these people Donnies. So he's coming in, doesn't probably know anything that's been going on like the last 10 years. And he's going to come and say like, basically like he's a naive dude. It's like, take a seat, Bill. First of all, this is opportunistic. You're only doing this because Trump is doing the opposite. That's one thing. Second thing is there's no such thing as a trans American. They're males and females. Nobody transitions. You can become a sex mimic. You can do things to make yourself look like the opposite sex as much as possible, or not just declare it because that's enough. It's an inner feeling. But everybody's male or female. The transgender experience of what? Invading people's boundaries and making people pretend you're something that you're not. And humiliation and dehumanization. Every time one of these MFers demands to be called a woman or is called a woman, just like we are, or we have the breeders, the bleeders, pregnant people, all this stuff. There's nothing more dehumanizing to women than that.
Yeah.
Everything he's saying about that is heart and soul of this movement. I'm not saying everybody who gets caught up in it is aware of this, but he's just full of cowpookie. And this is just opportunistic because now it's a thing that anything that Trump does, I have to say the opposite. Basically.
Yeah.
Regardless of
the whole thing is just exactly their modus operandi, right? Like invade, take over, repress dissent.
So I guess you're right. It makes sense that he's for this. He loves invasion, and
he's not going to have to deal with any troons in his toilet, or his wife's not going to have to, or his daughter. That's not going to happen to him. He doesn't care.
Yeah,
he let him virtue signal if that's the way he does it.
And I didn't know that family values, Christianity, all this stuff is like has no problem with the porn of it all, the fetish of it all, and hello, how can you how do you square that with Christ, yo? We're born in God's image, but he made a mistake, so lop your stuff off. I mean, I don't.
Is he a religious? Is Crystal a religious?
Well, I don't know if he actually is, but he pretends to be.
I wonder if it. I mean, I don't know enough about American politics, but I wonder if it's some kind of interesting, because if Trump was funded by the Heritage Foundation to go, onto the on sex realism, and Crystal is also, how does that work out? It's almost like these, prehistoric mastodons fighting in a swamp that I don't see it. I mean, it's interesting.
More the merrier. That's how I see American politics. Like they actually want to have all these different shades of views, right? Even within one party, within one side, just to confuse people even more, and it just works for them better because people can be fighting with each other instead of pointing fingers up at them. So
yeah, good point. Keep everybody confused.
So Jenny Lynn says that's what made me laugh so hard about all the NAFO bots with the rainbow flags and pronouns in their bio. I think she's referring to what you were saying, Slava.
Yeah, the NAFO bots are all pro-Nazis, and then they're also with the pronouns. I'll be excused for one minute. My kids just got home.
Okay. Okay, I'll take you down. Anyway, so yeah, that was. I mean, Bill Crystal, welcome to the party, Donnie. Jesus criminy. Oh, well.
You think you would tell them to stand down, Dick Cheney, Bill Crystal? Just shh. It's okay. You've done enough. We got this now. Shh. It's amazing.
So nice. Wolf chimed in. Wolf is Women's Liberation Front. They're ultra. They know, which means they know that this is all BS, and they're not going to pretend that it isn't. Harmful BS. So no, the transgender experience, she's talking to Air Crystal here, requires women to bow down to men in their bathrooms, compete against them in sports, and undress in front of males in their locker rooms. You, sir, are being a misogynist. That's right, Bill. Go suck a girl, blank. I have to say, I've never told so many people to go suck things as I have like in the last 6 months, and I just became so tired of this. You get to the point you're not even going to bother with the BS. You're just like, you know what? There's men and women. All the rest is marketing, porn, and cult. Go suck a blank, whatever. If it's a gay dude, I say go suck a fake trans man with the rooster. And if it's a girl, I say go.
Yeah, well, it sounds like we all get to the limit.
Yeah, it's like enough.
Totally, it's ridiculous. It's beyond stupid. And Bill Crystal is like the death knell of the trans movement. It has to be.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right?
Who next?
Well, they can't come back to this.
Who come out next?
Anybody who wants to be like, oh, I'm so marginalized and I'm being genocided, and because I want to.
No, but I mean, in terms of unlikely useful idiots. Bill Crystal, would he be the most? I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody like Falwell, like one of the really religious people. He's dead though, but anyway, I don't know. It's like I was talking to someone the other day. I'm like, give me a Christian evangelist over a gender cult person any day. Any day. Please, God. It's like they'll pray for you. The other people want to cancel you and are totally crazy.
Well, at least you know where they're coming from, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I don't care if people want to pray for me. I'm like, thanks. I mean, I know it's condescending, but still it's nice. It's still nice. I have family members that pray for me and my soul. It's cool.
Yeah, why not? They mean well, right?
Yeah, I'm like, couldn't hurt. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
No. It's nice.
Maybe it'll be just enough.
Accepted with thanks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be like, don't you pray for me? No, I'm like, cool, that's
right.
fine.
Like some demon would say, "Hello." I would give it away.
Or maybe they're doing it as a test. Let's see what it says.
How's Tara gonna react? We've long suspected.
I don't want your Christ. No. That'd be kind of funny though.
It would be.
Oh, they might strike me down though. And like, anyway, let's see what's the next craziness. Oh yeah, so Andy Cohen. So Megan. Karen Levitt wrote about 19. Okay, so one of the people that was at the State of the Union was Peyton McNabb, and she was the young woman who got traumatic brain injury from because a dude with the female gender identity was being allowed to play on the college volleyball team, and he did what you call it, a spike.
Yeah.
And and of course, here's the thing for people who think that it's all in your mind, your gender. And I think that so men are stronger than women, and I don't know, like a punch is like 200 times almost as strong. I don't know what the spike is, but it's stronger. And also women's bone structure, the facial bone structure isn't as thick as a man's.
No.
And you might have noticed that women's faces and men's faces tend to be, if you pay a bit of it, well, I mean, you notice it, but if you kind of like, like your lizard mind notices.
Yeah, right. Of course.
But men's, I don't want to say maybe the whole skeleton is, but their facial bones are thicker than women's.
Right. That's why they pay all the money for facial feminization surgery, right? That's why it's such another big industry.
Yeah, I gotta get that bone shaved off. Anyway, so she was 19 years old, spoken out about being left with a traumatic brain injury after trans-identifying man spiked a volleyball into her head, with special guest of Donald Trump at the Joint Congress. And Meghan McCain, here's what's so funny. Like, Meghan McCain to me is usually like nails on a chalkboard, but on this issue, we're in agreement. So she said, I've had the pleasure of meeting Peyton. She's incredibly smart, strong, and brave. Both she and her family have been through the unthinkable. Democrats defending young women suffering from brain injuries as a result of trans athletes, and she goes on and on. So Andy Cohen, you know who he is?
He's the guy from TV that did the Housewives recaps, right?
He produced all the Housewives stuff. And he also has like a talk show, and he's rich and famous. He's a gay dude, and he was gonna tell Meghan what's what. So this is Andy Cohen. Should I do the gay guy voice? Surprised? Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not surprised. Thank you, Tanya. No, don't do that, Tara. Yeah,
not this time.
Surprised you're buying into the vilification of. I'm surprised you're buying into the vilification of the trans community, given the real problems happening in this country. Your previous allyship of the LGBTQ community and the fact this is a non-issue that affects about 4 people in this country.
That's a terrible, stupid thing to say. Oh, Slava's back.
Okay. Hi, we're just going through the parade of dipshits and their responses to... to the Trump State of the Union, especially when it comes to the gender stuff, because one of the people he had there was Peyton McNabb, and I don't know if you've heard of her, but when she was 19, she got a brain injury because a trans-identifying man who was being allowed to play on the volleyball team spiked the ball and it hit her head, and then she was like Yeah, I mean, it got a traumatic brain injury. And we were talking about how people tend to forget that men are stronger than women.
Yeah.
By quite a bit, and also that our women's facial bones are thinner; they're not as thick as men's. Skull. Okay, what's the word I was trying to think of? I kept on thinking skeleton. I'm like, no, there's a specific.
The skull.
Yes, the skull, the facial part. Yeah. Anyway, and then Andy Cohen came in and chastised her. And there's vilification and there's real problems. Well, I think to the women and the girls who are damaged by this, it's a real problem for them, Andy. And then he has the goal, and this is what's important to pick out, Slava, and I'm sure that you've noticed this before. They always want to focus on the trans part, not the girls part, not the women part, not the kids part, not the autistic part, you know. They want to, or the people who are probably just gay and having a hard time dealing with that. No, they want to focus on the trans thing. And it's like, and so I wrote back to him. I said, and I'm sorry, but I've peaked. I just said, duh, women are 50% of the population, woke bro. Go suck a fake trans man blank. But I don't say the word, I just use an emoji.
That's good. Back in the day, we used to write Lady
It
Deek.
didn't used to be this way, but with this issue, it's just like, just enough. Anyway.
This reminds me of what Slava just said, which is that everybody is kind of scrapping in the weeds to sort of distract. I mean, Meghan McCain has spent years not saying a damn thing about any of this, right? This young Peyton McNabb is not the first woman to be injured by a man pretending to be a woman. Like I saw a roller derby tournament years ago where the guy was just like, knocking the women left, right, flying off. And Andy Cohen, whoever he is, the housewives guy, like he knows for sure that it's more than 4 people. So yeah, like.
No, but the thing is, he's talking about people who are trans.
Yeah.
Oh, the poor trans community. But it's like, no, it's about the women. This issue is about the women and the girls, and we're 50% or more of the population. So to say that's the switch.
No one cares
mumbo
about
jumbo they do.
Yeah, no one cares about.
What does it matter? It's just a few people.
This is like they're both sowing the wind, right? They're gonna reap the world. Like they're not. Both of them are playing this game.
Roping the wind.
Yeah, sowing the wind to reap the whirlwind. They're both doing that. They probably
can't use our idioms with Slava. Yeah, she's an American, but she's a naturalized American, and we welcome her. And Tanya's not. Tanya's Canadian, so. Our president made your president cry, Tanya.
Our governor. No, wait. Our prime minister.
No. Yeah,
confusing me.
Sorry, he was crying. I don't know if it was over the trans people
he's in touch with his feelings.
He was probably crying over Zelensky. That would probably be my guess.
He probably does pretty crying though. You have to admit.
Well, it's that that Fidel stuff. Anyway, allegedly, but the pictures.
He wishes.
The pictures.
I hope not. I hope not.
Well, it skips a generation. Okay, so here's more of the so of course, so Riley Gaines was there, and you can imagine what they typically do, because she's been outspoken on this. She was the one that had to compete against William Leah Thompson, or Thomas, whatever his name is.
Liar Thomas, yeah.
Well, yeah. Cheetah Thomas? Yeah. Anyway, so whenever she's on, whenever she gets any publicity for this, the trolls want to come out with either like she lost, like they want to point out like she was never number 1, so what's the big deal? Or they want to talk about her looks. So this dude Sean, some rando, only in America you can lose to several women in a swim meet, spelt wrong, and be considered a hero. And be considered a hero. It's like whatever. So Sal Grover, who this poor woman's been sued by this crazy troon for like 2 years because she wouldn't allow him on her all woman website, is being sued because she just
Roxy Tickle.
Yeah, Ron Tickle or a Roxy Tickle.
He's got a fetish name.
Oh my God, he doesn't even shave. So a woman was ranked number 4. So a man, that was Leah Thomas, was ranked 462 in men's swimming. He claimed to be a woman and was ranked number 1 in women's swimming. Absolute morons and misogynists consider him a hero. That's true. Sean, and it's hard to know if these people are just trying to get attention or if they're that stupid. I don't know. And there's Matt Walsh by him. There you go, Matt.
Yeah, I saw him there. I was wondering if that was him.
And so Tia wrote back to somebody, not this Yahoo, but some Representative Staub, who's actually a House Representative member, Democrat, who was complaining about, like, basically, one of these things. Oh, it's a small group of people, and he's being so mean. He's scapegoating the trans community. Blah blah blah. Again, no mention about the ladies or the women or the kids. And could you read this for me, Tanya?
Even if girls and women are not hurt, we lose our placement, prizes, podiums, and participation. Here are already over 600 women and girls who were robbed of their rightful places and placement in female sport. Oh yeah, for sure.
So there's a site that goes on and records every woman who lost to a man.
He cheated.
Who cheated? Yeah, it's cheating. Anything you want to say about this?
He cheated.
I just think if it was the other way, like they were not stronger, right? They wouldn't be going in. Like, for example, maybe this is a bad comparison. I'm sorry, but still, we have Paralympics, right? The people with disabilities, like they have a separate. They don't compete with normal people who are not disabled, right? They have it separately. So why don't we have for trans people, like if they want to really participate into something, they should make it a separate category between themselves, right? They should not be involved with women because it's just not fair.
Yeah, they don't want that. They don't want a third category. And if there were a third category, can you imagine, for example, if there were a third category, then the prize money that is already going to 2 places, men and women, would be given another place to give men money. Because of course we know it would be the men dressed as women who beat the women dressed as men, right? Like that's just not that's not gonna.
No, I mean, then it would have to be all trans women between themselves, all trans men between themselves. Like they should have a categories still.
They should have women's and open, right? So anybody who can get into the open category qualifies, right? If you can get in, you can get in. Open for men, women, people pretending to be cats. Not actual cats. Actual cats might win. Could you imagine?
But they wouldn't want that either. We know this because it's when some sports have tried to offer that, no one signs up for it because of course it's for the affirmation. If any person who says they're trans signs up for it, they're acknowledging the fact that they're not really women, and they don't want to do that.
Be in the locker rooms.
They don't want to do that.
They want to.
And I hate to tell you this, Slava, but even in the Paralympics, there's trans men competing against women. In the
Valentina Petrillo.
Yeah.
That's a man.
Unapologetically.
Wow.
Which is not surprising, but I mean, just crazy, crazy town.
Are they people who are identifying themselves as disabled? Like, I mean,
I don't know. Who knows what he had? Maybe I can't remember I don't know what he had.
Petrillo has an eye issue. Oh. So I mean, that's an issue for the Paralympics. Okay. If being a runner with a sight issue is the same as being a runner with like a wooden leg or something, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I just don't really know the ins and outs. I mean, that's an issue for the Paralympics to sort. I'm sure that they deal with stuff like that all the time, right? Like, but it's pretty clear that he's not a woman. So and he got into it when he was already in middle age. He's running. He's a middle-aged man running, beating all these women. With his little pink.
And he has not had any kind of bottom surgery. His stuff's all there.
Not that it matters. I mean,
it's a girl thing. Now. Anyway, So and more lovely stuff from the trans community. she looks more trans than any trans woman I've ever met in my life. Yeah, right. Well, then you haven't met very many, or you've seen them all through 5 filters and Vaseline. And I don't mean like Vaseline for sex, but like over the camera thing. Although it could be both. I don't know. But it's just so stupid.
They are
You know?
stupid because that's what they say all the time. Like, oh, how can you tell by looking? And then they make the same arguments that they complain about. They're so stupid. It's so
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
such a
I have a
gone
very
choice.
prominent chin, and often, quite a few times, not so much anymore, but when I used to be in the ranks of talking to these people online, probably like once a week, someone would put a picture of my profile pic and be like, "Oh, look at that chin." It's like, yeah, look at that female chin, baby. And it's so
They're so
hilarious.
insulting.
I'm like, it's my profile pic. I picked it. You're gonna
They're
have
so superficial. They're so insulting. They're so ridiculous.
Yeah, I've been called all kinds of insults. Anytime I talk about this issue on Twitter, they come and start calling me names, menstruating parasite, this,
yeah.
all kinds of insults.
Yeah. You know us ladies, the ones that have all the babies, we're the ones that are,
Is this only in the American context or the English language context? Are you getting this at all from your other languages, Ukrainian or whatever other languages you communicate in? Like, are other people doing this to you, calling you names?
Not about
Are there
gender
Ukrainians
issues.
calling you transphobic, Slava?
Yeah, because most of the Ukrainians who would be hating on me, right? Because they consider me a traitor and all of that.
Oh yeah, there's that.
But they just call me Putin's bitch, all kinds of other, Russian whore, like those kind of insults, right? They never touch on anything transgender related because they themselves don't agree with all this. There's very few Ukrainians who are in the United States who became liberal. Most of them are conservative Republican type. They all voted for Trump, and so it's very, very few that are like pronouns and all that. Exception to the rule.
Well, that's nice. You have a little bit of a.
I'm sorry.
A little bit of a valve.
Kushlik has a PSA, public service announcement. Kushlik, friendly reminder: Vaseline breaks down condoms is unsafe to use. Well, thank you, Kushlik. So, for those of you who are confused about the lubrication choices, keep that in mind. Anyway, I don't want to get, I don't want to be responsible for anybody's bad sexual practices. And by be bad, I mean unhealthy, risky. I don't mean like,
Well, that's the kind of thing they used to teach in sex ed classes. That's the kind of thing that high school sex ed classes would mention, right?
Yeah,
I mean, at least when I was in high school. And then, people would be upset about that. But you can argue that there's a point. We don't want teenage pregnancies, right? We don't want STDs. And if you kids are going to go out and mess around, then you may as well be safe. But now, of course, the genderism has taken over sex ed. Everybody's against it now. I mean, it seems like we're really regressing to the, just.
Well, and I don't know if this also happened in the States, Slava, if you even know, but where I'm at, it's a lot of the sex ed for some reason has been outsourced. And then you have these quote unquote sexologists or sex ed specialists, and they've decided that the kids need to know all the tweens and the teens need to do all this stuff, anal, all kinds of things. And I'm like, no, you really don't.
No.
You need to know first, like we talked about, and I just kids are different, but with the 3 kids I raised, I just let them lead. So when I could tell by something they were doing or something they were saying, what kind of information they would need, and I would just say enough, and you could tell when they started to get kind of like, oh no, that's all I want. And so for the many years, it was just the basics, like this is what this is what this does, whatever. Of course, and then later on, then of course, just the basic birds and the bees, how babies are made, how to not get pregnant, diseases, this type of stuff, and of course, how your body's working, and all the rest of it, no. They can get it from home, or the particular people who, if who have if it's if they have an the all the other stuff can be taken on a case-by-case basis, but the basic curriculum should just be just informative, not prescriptive, not any kind of stuff that's, what's your gender? You could be both or neither, but just this is how the body works. This is how your body works. This is what sex is. This is how you get pregnant. This is how you not get pregnant. This is how you protect yourself from diseases. And then maybe some of the stuff about, but I don't know how you feel about the Slava and Tanya, sorry. I know your name. I know some parents are really uncomfortable talking about sex. I know most teachers probably are too. Probably most teachers don't want to teach sex ed. Maybe that's why they outsourced it. But there's the relationship part, yeah, the emotional part about when you're emotionally mature enough to be doing these things, and how your body can react. But just because your body's having this reaction doesn't mean that it's bad or that you need to go through with it, or we all know, we're all women here. We've all been and we all have we're all with 3 straight ladies. We've all probably had the experience when you're having some you're kissing with the guy or whatever, and they're getting excited, and then they tend to think that for some reason that means something to you. Yeah, like, well, look, what are we gonna do about this or something? I'm old, so I don't remember. And it's just like, well, you don't have to do anything. You whatever, you know what I mean? So are you comfortable with even teachers getting into that type of scenario, or just really like just the information?
It depends on the age of the kids. Like, because high school, for example, right?
High school. What's high school? High school. Let's say.
But high school could be 14 or 18. So I think at 18 they can go into all these details already, but not at 14. I think 14 is a little too young.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think, Tanya?
I used to be pretty permissive about whatever. I've become extremely like woke. I'm no. But considering that, I've been playing that, what's her name, Mary Kate Delvey's videos about listen to trans people. I've been playing them in the house, so my own kid is hearing all this stuff. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's hard for me to disagree with Slava. I think the most interesting part of this is how you said this has been outsourced to gender providers. Schools are outsourcing important parts of the curriculum to gender providers. Another morbid symptom, I guess that's neoliberalism. But and these losers get jobs, right? And they do things like they make coloring books of all the prominent troons of the city, and
the genderbread man. Like, here's your mind, here's your heart. Right? Like your gender's here and just here. They literally have your sex as just your genitals, which I'm sorry is like wrong. Your whole body, we're the whole thing. So this idea they're teaching kids that your sex is just that. I'm like, what? And how? And I'm like, is anybody streaming stuff?
No, it's ridiculous. Sure. So they've got all these people who are just making stuff up as they go along, because
it doesn't make sense then, because what it means is like, okay, so what you feel here may not go along with your sex, which is just here.
Yeah, right. They need to believe like 6 impossible things before breakfast. They really do. It's just a fantasy. That's why they're all witches and unicorns and fairies, and it's.
They're not outsourcing it here yet. I'm sure they will eventually. For now, it's together with the gym, the
physical education,
physical activity. Physical education. So health is part of it. But I'm sure eventually there will be outsourcing, because it's not really comfortable probably for the same teacher to to go through all of it and then teach them how to do exercise.
Anyway, okay, so so Cheaties, that's my favorite meme of him, although it's a bit so blurry. There he is. Look at that female wingspan. I mean,
Do
I'm
you know? I
sorry.
don't know if they still
I'm
sell
sorry.
that
I
cereal.
don't appreciate that laughter, Tanya. I don't appreciate that narrow Western, Eurocentric, narrow understanding of what a woman is.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
dare you?
I know. I'm such a bigot. I'm doing a transphobia. But do you know that Cheaties is a joke because it used to, I don't know if they still sell this or you're too young, but they used to sell a cereal called Wheaties made of wheat.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So that's
I'm sorry. You're talking to Slava. I thought you're talking to me.
I'm talking to
What do I
everybody
know
who's
about
interested in the
Wheaties?
history of breakfast cereals of the States. Wheaties
Yeah.
made of wheat.
And don't just smile and nod. If we say something and you're like, "What are these ladies talking about?" Just
I thought it's because of Cheerios. That's
It's the same
Oh,
thing, yeah. But it was
oh
like
yeah,
they
good
used to
one.
be, yeah, that could work too. But like the Wheaties, they used to have, they would always have athletes on, yeah. And so that's sort of like, okay, so he's an athlete, but he's a cheaty. Uh, okay, so there's more people who want to go to the defense of Riley Gaines. So the heretical liberal. I mean, I'm sure Riley Gaines doesn't really care what a man so confused about reality that doesn't even know his own sex thinks about her. But just as a straight guy with eyeballs, I can assure you your perception of female beauty is about as accurate as your perception of your own body. Profoundly unreliable, in other words. No, he's a good one. He's a liberal, but he's good. Yeah, we don't, it's cool. Let's see. We're getting to our favorite now. Prepare yourselves, ladies. Emma Vigland.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna lower the thing.
So
Can't
Peyton, I'm not going to play the video, but this is Peyton McNabb again. She was 19, and the guy who's jumping up here is a guy pretending to be a lady on the college football, not football, but volleyball team, and she's here, and it just shows him jumping up, spiking the ball, hitting her, and her just going like that. So she wrote, this is from 2024, and again she was invited to the State of the Union 2 nights ago and was talked about specifically by President Trump. So 2 years ago, my life changed forever because my rights and safety were deemed less important than a man's feelings and false reality. I will always continue to fight the good fight for all girls and women who deserve better. So this was making the rounds again, of course, because so she was, because of the president of the State of the Union. So this is a picture from her from that night, from 2 nights ago. And she wrote, "It's such an honor as a former female athlete to be here and watch President Trump stand up so strongly for women and girls' rights to equal opportunity, privacy, and safety. We are worth fighting for." And so she's Peyton McNabb, and she's an independent women ambassador. So I think independent women, they're like a nonpartisan group that's trying to get this craziness, trying to oppose this craziness of pretending there's 2 types of women and 2 types of men. So Emma Vigland responds, and this is today, or was it yesterday? The 5th of March.
My time yesterday.
To this video. Laughing. I mean,
it's ghoulish.
It's amazing. It is. And it's just like, it's like, what, is it a gambler's fallacy? Is she just really GenderBorg? Is she the founding member of the cult of the female penis in the United States? It's like, what is this? Anyway, so Matt Walsh wrote, I know that you and him, that Matt Walsh and us ladies don't see eye to eye on many issues, but we see eye to eye on this one. So if you don't mind the taint, the possible bad connection, Tanya, would you mind reading out his response?
You want me to read it?
Please.
All right. Here's a woman laughing hysterically because a female athlete suffered a traumatic brain injury at the hands of a trans-identified male. The trans rights movement is and always has been fueled by narcissism, malice, and violent sexual perversion. And it's not just trans activists who act that way. Disgusting hacks like Emma are just as bad. Emma is, of course, personally irrelevant, and she's on a show that nobody cares about and that has zero cultural impact. This tweet will, ironically, be the most relevant and impactful thing she's ever done, but not for the reasons she intends. Wow. Good one, Matt Walsh.
That's why I concluded it. I'm like, yeah. And people were, of course, like, then why are you putting it? It's like, because he has 3 million followers. I'm like, I'm
Yes.
glad. I hope this gets presented everywhere. What a nasty piece of work. What a cow. I mean, all the bad things. She is the worst trans maid, I think. She might be the worst.
Well, they're all playing in the same kind of mud, right? Like,
Yeah.
sow the wind, ladies, men. You know, that's what happens.
Yeah. And so here is Peyton McNabb. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was this great thing because then of course and this is another thing. So when Trump has her come up and says that we're going to end this craziness of men and women's sports and this and that, and talks about what happened to her, none of the Democrats clapped. They all sat. You know, and there was also a woman who went through this drama because she found out that the school had, you know, transitioned her kid and was using different pronouns and doing all this stuff without their knowledge. And so she's been working on getting that to be a no-no. Like, you can't do that. You can't socially transition people's kids and not tell them.
Right.
No one clapped for her either. Nothing. And then this dude, this is how cold-hearted the Democrats are. This boy is 13 years old, and he was diagnosed with cancer. He's had like 12 or 13 brain surgeries, and he loves cops. Yeah. So he's been made an honorary cop at various precincts. And so Trump talked to him, and his dad was there. And he said, I have good news for you. I think his name's Charlie or Daniel. And basically they gave him a badge. So he's a Secret Service officer. And he was so, like, you know, his expression. And then whoever's the head of the Secret Service went over there to him and gave it to him. And he just gives him this huge hug, like, you know, embraces the Secret Service guy. And I'm just like, oh. And then you have the Democrats are just like, and they're complaining about today how Trump used this guy. And it's so ridiculous. Like, yeah, he's a politician.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's not a super cool thing to do.
Right.
You know how happy this boy is. He was so happy. And then Peyton is, you know, opposing with him. And she says the newest Secret Service special agent DJ. And, you know, and it was just like, it was just a nice moment. And like, the Democrats want to lose. There is no way being a sourpuss about this kid who knows, you know, he was already supposed to only make it 5 months when he was at 9. Now he's 13. You know, so it's kind of making a thing. And his dad, and I love the black cowboys. His dad looked like he was like from Texas or something. I don't know, African American. And he's holding his kid up and he has a cowboy hat. I'm like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then you see the other side, like, I'm just like, my God, it's crazy.
Yeah,
anyway,
it really is.
You know,
like, where are their brains? They can't even fake, you know, they're so good at being hypocrites, but they can't even fake, you know, smiling and clapping when a poor child ridden with cancer gets his dream come true. Like, they're so stupid. It's just beyond stupid what's happened. Like, what's happened to society, what's happened to people's brains. It's so stupid. You know, these fakers can fake it. Go on, fake it.
Yeah, I mean, God. Sorry. And so, but I did want to say that, of course, because she is a different size now than she was when she was playing sports. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Of course, she's been dealing with a traumatic brain injury for a few years, but you can imagine what some of the trolls were commenting on. You know, well, I'm not surprised she basically, well, maybe if she didn't weigh so much, she would have been able to move out of the way of the spiked ball and this kind of bullshit. And first of all, I don't care if she was 3 times her size now. It wouldn't have mattered. But, you know, you're not really working out a lot when you're recovering from that kind of injury.
Right? No kidding.
It's so people that make me want to be violent.
And what did Matt Walsh say about the rage? He said something about the rage, right? Like, I mean, we don't know, but it's possible that Troon kid spiked the ball at her on purpose because they have a lot of rage. I mean, it's not just a sad, poor me, I've got the wrong genitals and I want to be a girl. It's not just that. It's also, you know, rampant misogyny, power, sadism. Like, it just, there's so much, it's all these clusters of paraphilias, control. You know, I've never seen a man playing with women who didn't exhibit violence. I've never seen a man going, okay, I'm just going to dial it back. Oh, except for when Laurel Hubbard at the Olympics, at the Tokyo Olympics. He's the troon from New Zealand. When he picked up the weightlifting, he picked up the barbell and he went, oof, he dropped it like a little. That's the only time I've ever seen any kind of.
Yeah. Well, and I also think to be smart, Slava. Do you want to say anything about any of this stuff?
I think these people, they're just so paralyzed with that Trump derangement syndrome that anyone who gets close to Trump, who praises Trump or takes picture with Trump or anything happens with Trump, even if it's a child, it just becomes an enemy for them. So they don't see the difference, it's really just paranoia, I would say. Yeah. It's not healthy.
No. When Kushlik mentioned Laurel Hubbard, and I always used to think that when some of these stupid people are like, oh, they don't always win. Well, first of all, if they're smart, they will throw a race or a meet from time to time. Yeah. But also it doesn't matter because like Tanya, like you said, we said before, they're still taking away a woman or a girl's spot.
Oh yeah.
There's still it's the psychological thing of having to pretend that you're not that person isn't a woman or isn't a boy. No, it's all this it's the I don't know, what would you want to call it? Like just kind of demoralization and just it's just degrading.
Yeah, it's totally degrading
everybody's intelligence. And it's just, and also like it doesn't matter. Women's sports are for women and girls' sports are for girls. It doesn't matter. Does not matter. I don't care what they feel, what they want, whatever. But people will say this stuff, oh, they don't win all the time. Oh, well, if they don't win all the time, I mean, we should be like, no, he doesn't. What about a rapist? Well, he doesn't rape all the time. So what's the big deal? Oh, there's only so many, pedophiles. So why do we have to worry about that? There's only a few.
Right.
Why bother with the screening? I mean, why bother with background check? There's only a couple bad apples.
Right. Well, the sport thing, everything has been debunked. Every single argument. It's so easy because it's all physically based. So there's this guy, Ross Tucker, and his account is Science of Sport, I think, and he does a podcast, and he's laid everything out, and he's spoken, I believe he's spoken to, important policymakers, and, he's laid it all out. So, I mean, so remember that comic, what's her name? Silverman, she was saying, oh, but some women have broad shoulders. So that means that, the whole issue with Leah Thomas's broad shoulders doesn't matter because some women also have broad shoulders, or, he's laid everything out. So anybody who's just confused should look him up. Science of Sport on Twitter. Yeah. His name's Ross Tucker.
If you really need to see the source, if there's people out there and we say, not just because women they should have their own category, but if there's really people who need to have the science, can't really wrap their hand around why we would have just for fairness and safety reasons, male and female categories. Yeah. What's it again? Science of Sport?
Science of Sport. There might be under those.
I'll look it up and I'll put it in the deets later.
Yeah, the deets.
Yeah.
Ross Tucker, though.
Ross Tucker. So here's another thing about backwards forwards, because just like maybe even 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I used to like watching John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart, but now they are just so on the woke Kool-Aid train. I don't know what's going on. They want war with Ukraine, the trans stuff, all this stuff. And so now it's like, I much rather watch Tucker Carlson than Jon Stewart, John Oliver, or Stephen Colbert. And if you fast forward about 10 years, I would have been like, and someone had told me that, I'd been like, yeah, right. I'm not doing Tucker. Sorry. And that doesn't mean I agree with every single thing he says, but I find him to be honest. Yeah. So you can be honest and be wrong, or you can be honest and have sometimes there's no right or wrong, but I find him to be honest, and I'm liking the fearless Tucker. And yeah, I know he says stuff. I know he believes all the Nazi propaganda about Russia. I know. But a lot of things, it's cool. And he's asking a lot of questions and inviting and talking to people that on regular networks would just be, forbidden. And the reason why I mentioned that, Slava, is because I used to like Lady Gaga. I liked Bad Romance. I liked Poker Face. But now on this, I gotta tell you, the last couple of years, so pop based. So Lady Gaga came out today on the importance of standing up for the trans community. What trans people are being faced with in this world is completely unfair, wrong, and there's this violence that's taking place on a daily basis in their lives, and I think we all need to support trans. Well, I think yawn, and that she can go shove this gender speak up her bonus hole. That's what I think. I don't know about what you think. Slava, you maybe have no opinion, but just celebrities in general of this.
Yeah, I never liked Lady Gaga, but
okay, well then this isn't
I'm not
hard.
surprised. I'm not surprised that she came out in support because I mean she's part of that Hollywood thing. So yeah.
Well, and the dance scene and the drag scene and all this. But again, Tanya, what do you think about her luxury?
Does her argument get any better? Like, did you read the whole
book? No.
Because that's what a ridiculous.
It's just blah, blah, blah. They're in danger.
She said that?
Huh? I don't know, but this is a quote. I didn't read the whole thing because why would I? But what trans people are being faced with in this world is completely unfair, wrong, and there's like violence. There's this violence taking place on a daily basis in their lives, and I think we all need to support trans. What are we supporting when we're supporting trans? Delusion, body disassociation, mutilation, boundary violations.
Right.
Making people deal with incongruence, the mental time it takes to be like, okay, I see a boy, but I have to say this, or I see that, or I see whatever. Yeah, F off, shove it up your bonus hole. I'm just, please stop. Yeah. But I mean, whatever. They're not all the super harmless, extra gay boys that you hang out with in your dance parties. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's
that. She has her own bathroom.
Of course.
Lady Gaga ain't sharing the bathroom.
No. They're probably not even allowed to look at her. Lower your eyes when Lady Gaga passes.
I'm just like, grow up. You're like almost 40. Anyway, and here's the thing. This is why I said it at the switcheroo. So so I read this, and so I'm like, Lady Gaga, you're giving me a bad feeling. And then Nancy Mace. Who again, with her stuff on her position on Israel, Palestine, and some of the other stuff, I'm like, but on this stuff and on her on how she's kind of like take no prisoners on women and girls. And she's except, of course, because if they're Palestinian. But she wrote, this is so hilarious. And she's also, did you hear about that, Slava, when she said tranny in the Congress?
Yeah.
And they're all mad. I'm like, that's a more accurate term than trans woman. Yeah. They're not a woman, Anyway, so she wrote, some tranny called in the office this morning to yell at my staff. When he or she got misgendered, they called my staff the F word, so F goods. Hard to tell what they are with all those hormones sending them over the edge. Also, no apologies here. Yeah. So now I got to be Team Mace. And Bad Gaga.
Bad Gaga. I'm not super thrilled that she went tranny. I think she should have said men. And it's not because I'm one of these, let's be nice so we don't scare off the moderates. It's not because of that. It's because, I don't even want to give them tranny. I don't even want to give them that. I just want them to just be men. Yeah. I don't want to give them tranny as if that's some kind of special man. Like, gives them something to fight. Gives them something to fight about. If she had just said men, then that would be, perfectly unassailable, right? She says tranny, and everybody can go, oh, she's so mean. Even the TERFs have to go, oh, well, I don't know if I like that, right? Just say men, and then no one can argue. It's just perfect.
Yeah, so I don't know how much time you guys have. So Slava, I wanted to ask you something because you're in the belly of the beast, baby. You're in the ACP, and I know that you're not a you're here as Slava today, not as a representative. But one of the themes that's been running in Morbid Symptom is what the F Marxists.
Thanks, Marx.
Thanks, Marx. But no, in terms of Marxists in general have been silent on this, but particularly when it's male Marxists who just want to either dismiss it as a gender issue or worse, the ones that go along with it. What's been your experience, to the extent that you can talk about it, about Marxists and actual Marxists you think aren't just saying it, they actually are Marxists who either don't want to deal with this issue or have somehow gone along with it. They actually think that there's something real to the trans stuff.
Well, I don't think it's that complicated. Over the past few years, I realized that those who have been fooled into thinking that we have to be pro-Ukraine and support the Nazis, those are also the ones who are falling for this gender nonsense. And the fact that they're calling themselves Marxists doesn't mean they are. They're just as confused about Marxism as they are about modern politics.
Or male and female.
Exactly, yeah. So I just call them fake, fake Marxists, and they're not real. And so the ones that I do respect, and people like Alexander McKay and also comrades from ACP, we're not falling for this nonsense. We accept people who want to be part of the party, like if they're members of LGBT and they want to participate in party politics, that's all fine. Like, we're not discriminating, but as long as the class politics come above, right? Like, we don't want to talk about.
You guys aren't having any kind of pronoun rituals,
no,
are
we
you?
don't have any pronoun stuff. We're not discussing it. It's supposed to be private and personal, and if people are capable of keeping it private, right, and they're not pushing it on anyone, then it's all fine. But again, like, if I ever had felt endangered by anyone as a woman, I would be vocal about it. Like, I'm not the type of person that I'll be keeping it to myself, and I'll be like, because on Twitter, lots of rumors are being circulated, right, and they're like, oh, the ACP is a party of misogynists, and the only couple women that they have there are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, and they're misogynists themselves, or like.
Okay, here, so we're gonna send you, Tanya, send her a signal in the private chat that she can let us know if we need to start a free Slava campaign. Yeah, something incongruent, like lift up go pick the flower and
right, touch your nose.
Then we'll know that
I'm always like open about it, and I always talk, and I never keep it to myself. And I like to play devil's advocate sometimes and throw some kind of controversial things out there, just to kind of pull and see who's who, right? So, like, all this drama about Andrew and Tristan Tate and all the others kind of stuff, I like to get into the weeds of it and argue with people, because my comrades, they know exactly where I stand, right? They know I don't like Andrew Tate. They know I'm against all that misogyny and all of that. But there are some people who are like, they're confused about it, and so they think I'm pro all of that. And I've been brainwashed by some, I don't know, misogynist.
Hustler you.
Yeah.
One of the few women subscribers to Hustler University. You too can make money online. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just funny. Yeah. But I like arguing and debating with people when I have time. Of course, lately I've been so busy that I see all the notifications on Twitter, but I have no opportunity to reply. I wish I had more time, but it's just, life is busy, and
and you can get sucked in. And I try to be disciplined about it, because I always, and I try to, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna have a cup of coffee. I'm just gonna check Twitter. And if I don't stick to my list and I go on the For You double line, I will see like 4 things, and I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah, we
oh
all
no, I
need
really have to because this will really be important. It's like, like, well, probably not. But the more you feed, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
By the way, I forgot to bring up the important thing that's coming up. I don't know if you guys celebrate it or not, but this Saturday is International Women's Day, and
Yes.
March 8th.
Ooh.
And it's not that celebrated here in the United States, but since I'm Ukrainian and I was born during Soviet Union, and so it was a big holiday in Soviet Union. Like everyone celebrated. It was actually started by communists, and that's probably why nobody celebrates it in the United States. Because I mean, they celebrate everything and anything, right? They
Yeah.
would like to, anything they can put a, consumer price on it. They'll do it.
Yeah.
But because it was like socialist holiday, they avoided it. But still, I try to popularize it among people I know and kind of talk about it because women should be celebrated. I mean, we deserve to have our holiday. Why
Yeah, for
not?
sure.
Every day should be Woman Day, baby.
It used to be
And
Working
Man
Women's
Day,
Day, right?
and Man Day. Men are important too.
Mhm.
I like the men's. I mean,
Mhm.
not every
Yeah, I mean,
man,
I
but
would love to have a Men's Day too. But like in Soviet Union, they had February 23rd was the day of the defender of the motherland. So men would get the gifts. And then March 8th was the Women's Day. And women would get flowers traditionally, right? So it was like always a big holiday.
Mhm.
And even right
Different
now,
than Mother's Day, yeah. Women's Day is for all the women,
all the
and then
women, yeah,
okay.
even like little girls would get flowers from their dad, and it was so nice.
Ooh.
Like
Mhm.
I love that. And so I'm in flower and gift business. Like I started a little flower studio, and so I'm planning on Saturday I'm going to make a bunch of little flower bouquets and go into downtown of my city and just
Mhm.
gift flowers to women. Like
Oh,
I
that's
just
very nice.
Slava, you are lovely.
I just want
You're
to
lovely for a
make women
Putin
happy.
whore. You're my favorite Putin whore, Slava.
So my comrades from my chapter, they're gonna be helping me, and we will be just giving away flowers. And I want to make like a sign saying Happy Women's Day and all that. I'll be popularizing womanhood.
There
in
you
the
Right.
go.
States.
And
That's a
if you
lovely
want
idea.
to make
What's it, March 8th, you said?
Mhm.
March 8th.
Okay, March 8th. So I'll think about that. I'll try to. I mean, I'm not going to go and give people flowers in town, but I might give myself a flower and my 2 young ladies, my 2
Mm,
crazy daughters a flower. Yeah.
There's a
that's
lot of
nice.
turf events happening for Women's Day, and if you make I think the American suffragettes, because it's been sort of co-opted. I think their colors were purple, white, and yellow. The American ones. So if you wanna upset the lady men, make some bouquets with yellow, purple, and white flowers.
Yeah.
In the States, in Canada, it's green instead of yellow, but
My favorite combination is yellow and purple. Like
perfect.
it just looks so
Are
good
you a New
together.
Orleans Saints fan? Or are the Saints still in New Orleans or they go someplace else? Used to be a football team. Sorry, Tanya. Used to be a
They're
football team, New
complimentary,
Orleans
right?
Saints.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah, I
were
like
purple
complementary
and
colors.
then Utah Jazz.
Looks so good.
Anyway,
Well,
um,
that's the right bouquet. I mean, I think that's really lovely. You know,
it's lovely, yeah. Slava's lovely.
she is.
And anytime someone says anything mean to you online, you tag me and I'll come there and I'll tell them to suck something.
Yeah, me too.
But with an emoji, no, but
Yeah.
No, sometimes I go into like a mean mode too, and I like and I start like being harsh with my critics. Um,
Right.
but no, I play nice. I allow other people to
Right.
Well, to me, I used to know, and I'm probably sometimes I miss the mark, but you get better at being like, okay, this isn't going to go anywhere. This person is just trolling, and they're just bad faith, or just whatever, and it's just like, okay, or I'm not going to deal with the stupid stuff that we've been debunking for 8 years. Like
Yeah.
everybody's bathroom is gender neutral. Yeah, go suck something, or whatever it is. I try to figure out what would be the funniest thing to tell them to go do that with, because based on their bio. And every once in a while, my son will see me. He's like, I thought you said, like, you don't have to react and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, but this is different. This is gender business.
Right.
These are gender rules. It's Gender Dome. Like from Tina Turner, it's Gender Dome. Oh, I'm so chill. No. Okay, well, I'm running out of steam. Slava, anything you want to say about this or anything else before we wrap up?
I'll just say that, whatever people want to believe, they can believe, but they can't push it on us. They can't force us into conforming, and especially kids. Like, don't touch kids. If you touch my kids, I'm becoming a mama monster.
Yeah.
Don't you want to mess with me?
Like Mama Bear, like Putin and the bear. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I
I'm
don't
all nice, and I'm a flower girl, and I try to care about everyone, but just don't touch my kids.
And this is your last chance to signal us that you need to be rescued from being the ACP handmaid. Can we're running out of time, Slava. Tanya, anything you want to?
No, it was lovely to meet you, Slava. It was lovely to meet you. You seem like an intelligent and functional and super capable woman. I wish you the best of luck in your flower business. I wish I could get a bouquet from someone sometime for something. 80 colors. Love flowers. It was lovely to meet you. Thank you for chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure. I've been watching your show. I liked your conversations with Alex McKay, with Noah, with Eddie. It was awesome.
I know. I'm making my way through the ranks here. I'm just like, I need to get like some sort of checklist. Like, okay, who's next? But anybody's welcome.
Well, I can tell you exactly who's has what positions and all of that.
Let's get them all on here.
Send us that information.
And it doesn't just have to be, it can be on the sex gender war issue, but it can be on other things because there's no shortage of morbid symptoms. Oh my God.
Sure.
Unfortunately. But I guess good for our channel, but bad in real life. Anyway, Slava, thank you very much. Again, yeah. So March 8th is Women's Day, and it was originally started in the Soviet Union. Yes.
Yeah.
It was popularized in Soviet Union.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think there was in different countries, even in the United States.
Yeah, because I think there is. There is something. Yeah, and of course you'll have the trans people be popping up. Don't forget about trans women on Women's Day.
It's like, of course. The most marginalized women.
Oh my God.
Yeah, men, women.
Anyway, Slava didn't put her YouTube handle, her Twitter account in there, but I'll put it in at some point today or tomorrow in the video description if people want to follow her. Tanya is, she's both in and out. I'm I try not to let people know exactly where I'm at because I have 3 kids, and people tend to. What's happened lately is I worked at Maastricht University like 2018. It was when I left there and we came to where we are now. But for some reason, that's still easy to find the internet. So whether it be like a trans rights crazy person or a crazy Zionist, it seems like once a week now or once every other week, someone goes and finds that and posts it on one of my tweets. Like they're outing me or something.
I'm trying to scare you, like, oh, you're gonna get fired.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I was talking to my husband. I'm like, I wonder how many people have like complained to Maastricht University about my rampant transphobia or anti-Semitism.
Right.
And they're like, what?
All the gender Karens.
Yeah, this person doesn't work here anymore.
All the time.
I'm like, catch me if you can, brothers. It's like, oh no, you put my old CV online. Oh, whatever will I do?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Slava, thank you. You have an open invitation. We do these, we used to do them once a week, but I don't know. I'm trying to do more writing now and it's hard for me, but I like them. But at least twice a month, we do a sex gender war update. And if you want to, I'll let you know. And if you want to jump on, if you have anything to say, you don't have to be here the whole time. Of course, you're welcome to be. But you're, every time anybody comes on here and we jive, I'm all like, oh, you're a correspondent now. So it doesn't pay anything. It doesn't pay anything yet, but we have a good time. Anyway, take care. Kiss those babies for me, and happy Women's Day on the 8th.
Yeah,
Happy Women's Day.
Bye, Slava.
Bye.
All right, Tanya. Well, look at us making friends. Anyway.
Yeah. That's why I'm here, to make friends. I have nothing intelligent to say. It's all been said.
Please,
no, I'm just here to make friends.
Yeah.
And we did. We made our new best friends.
I know. She's like, she popped in the DM. She goes, I just want to say, and I'm like, hey, well, you know what? You should come on.
She's lovely. I really liked her.
Very nice. Yeah. And she's like exactly how I thought she would be, I think. I mean, I didn't know. Right? I knew she is kind of what I pictured, but from just her posts. But I didn't know. I knew she was Ukraine American, but I didn't know like that she grew up there and then came here later. So I didn't know. Which doesn't matter. But,
yeah, no, we don't know.
Yeah,
we're surprised.
Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Do you have a bit of time for us to go through some of the comments, or do you need to roll?
No, I'm always here for the comments.
Okay, so let me see. Let me see if there's because people if they take the time to watch and comment. Let's see.
Oh, I just saw one that said, hell yes, Slava's a badass.
Yeah, it's true.
That's not how she struck me, Roy, but I take your word for it.
No. Let's see. So Kushluk, though I'm thinking more along the lines of sublating. Ooh, fancy word. And the kind of logic of sports for more mass participation, kind of a mid-range goal. Well, good luck with that, because I don't know what you mean by that. Logic of sports for mass participation. Okay,
Kushluk. I think he's thinking of another category for the.
Oh yeah, maybe for people who want to do it but don't have any chance, aren't thinking they're going to be like LeBron James or Serena Williams or something, but they just want to participate.
Just every gender person, as if that
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, everything flipped on its head pretty much overnight. Yeah, I think she's talking about how people we used to relate to now are so cringe. Sometimes you're just like, right. I mean. Yeah. Kushluk, I think there are a range of celebs like Gaga and RuPaul who actually aren't that pro-trans but have to do it for marketing reasons. I know RuPaul. Surely. I know RuPaul. I don't know Gaga. That's a bit different because of her, because she was taken out and dragged. But she was dragging out Freudian slip. I don't know how. I'm assuming her origin story is true. But she used to go and hang out a lot in drag bars and whatnot, and maybe who knows. So she could have an idea of trans that's pretty specific, and of course doesn't affect her life in any negative way. She just gets the glory of being trans people. But RuPaul, I remember there was a bit of a kerfuffle when they wouldn't allow trans men. Yeah, they wouldn't allow quote unquote trans men to participate on RuPaul's Drag Race. And eventually he caved though and allowed that. So there was this rule. It was only for drag queens, which of course a drag queen is a man. And so they had a rule, or they got in trouble because they weren't allowing, or they weren't accepting contestants who were trans either direction. So trans, quote unquote, trans woman or quote unquote trans man. And after the third season, I think they dropped that. And so then you have these people who are like, transitioning, or, and you have the most ridiculous thing, a trans woman drag queen or a trans man drag queen. I'm like, my God.
It comes down to how often one wears the costume. Do we wear the costume all the time? Or do we only wear the costume when we're performing? So, I mean, I guess that was a meaningful distinction to RuPaul, but not so meaningful that he wanted to stick to his guns and lose his show about it, right?
Well, he's made a shitload of money. Ian Foster, pro-trans, liberal idealist, communist would be an oxymoron. Well, you should tell them that, Ian, because let me tell you, there's a lot of them online who will tell you that you're a fraud, like not you, but whoever says it. and they'll be like, read Engels, and he wanted to abolish sex, or who knows what.
Yeah, he was pro pedophilia.
So I
and all
agree with
sorts of
you
nonsense.
that it's extremely contradictory, but we're a contradictory species. So,
and meaningfully, I mean, the thing is that women have been in a desert, and everybody that should have spoken up, whether they're a communist or everybody that should have been speaking up for women has really underscored this idea that after the revolution we'll deal with women's issues, because women have been stomped on in this for years and years and years and years and years. So, women have looked to, like, Julian Vigo, who interviewed Noam Chomsky at the beginning of her, the very first episode of her podcast, Savage Minds. And she asked him about genderism. She mentioned it very intelligently. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know." But, we were all, I don't know about all of us, but I'm imagining me and all of my like-minded TERFs kind of going, okay, this is it. He's going to break it open. He's going to
say something.
Yeah. And they've all dropped the ball. And I don't want to argue about
I want to say though, Tanya, that Norm Finkelstein didn't.
I know Norm.
He's always laughed. I mean, he would say, like, he wasn't like an ultra, but he stuck to his guns. It's like, there's two sexes. That's it. You can't,
bless him. He's a wonderful man. Yeah, he's a wonderful man. But all the others, all the others, like, and it's been terrible. And I think at this point we need more than just like, well, of course we believe in materialism, one of those TikTok things. Of course I'm a this and that. We need more than that. We need a kind of a mea culpa, right? Like, yeah, I should have been.
Well, you need to be specific, to say you're a materialist. Okay, what is that? Because some people are like, oh, well, I cut my dick off, so I don't have it anymore. I'm a woman. It's like, to be able to say that, again, your beliefs, your practices, your whatever, fine. But there's two sexes, they don't change, and and your desire to be seen or to live as the opposite sex does not override ever women and girls or men and boys as well, because you have a lot of I mean, it's not the same thing. It's not the same problem, but I can imagine that it's not too cool for the gay guys to have all these non-binary and trans men.
Well, lots of them have been
hanging out at
against
their
it,
gay
and lots
bars.
have supported it, right? Just like everybody else. Some are against, some support. No,
it's the same thing and that's the thing. That's why with the LGBTQ, the people that want to say the LGB without the rest, even to say community is to fall into the trap. Not all lesbians and gay men and bisexuals share. There's divisions within the people that have that these sexual orientations on this issue.
Right. That's right.
And you get the same thing with the feminists. So if you're not for trans rights, you're not a feminist. Like, if you're not for trans rights, you're not a good gay person. And they do all this. Yeah. And sometimes there'll be gay people saying it or lesbians saying it, or it's all a mess.
It's a big mess.
Let's see. Thanks, Slava. Yeah, she's great. Happy Women's Day. Let's see. She could, but drag and trans aren't really the same thing. We know, Kushlik, the drag and trans are not the same thing, but they are cousins, baby. They are cousins. They're not unrelated. I
don't believe that gay men don't get off thinking, dressing as a woman, and I don't believe that straight men, because you've seen the straight men who tune out, and then they they want to sleep with men. I mean, it's just the lines are just blurred. I think the line is, are you dressing in a costume? Are you wearing your fetish costume in public? And that's the line, not the gay or straight or bi or whatever.
Well, and most, at least, not that I'm down with the drag thing, but most drag queens that they get the drag on for their work. Yeah. And then they take it off, untuck, etc. RuPaul's original intent was that you had to be a man who was performing as a woman, and you did not think you were a woman. He used the phrase female illusionist. Yeah. I remember there was a bit of a kerfuffle. That was before I was really aware of what was going on. Because I remember hearing about that. That was before I was a full TERF. I remember thinking, well, yeah, that's not really fair. I was
Right.
thinking about the regular drag queens. I'm like, well, that's not fair if you have someone who's had like surgeries and hormones and whatnot,
Right.
and the guys who haven't, you
But like
know.
even female illusionist could apply to the drag queens, the gay guys dressing up, or it could apply to the guys who go out in their fetish costume. I don't know who he's referring to. I mean, I can guess by the context of his thing, but female illusionist is
Oh, correct. That is more classic gay drag idea anchored in reality. Yeah. Okay. So Kush Look is gonna. He keeps on saying he's gonna come on our program because he's been doing
nice.
some research, and I'm like, okay, Kush Look, when you coming, baby? When are you coming on?
Right.
You can't research forever.
I don't do any research. Oh, that's
Sometimes you got to
evident.
put a pin in it and say, this is what I have now, and this I'm going to work on later. Let's see. Even when you watch that now famous interview with Malcolm Michaels Jr., aka Marsha P. Washington, he doesn't understand how anyone thinks he is a woman.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now you're gonna have to stop Kush Look, because no more comments.
We gotta go.
Right here, and Tanya has to start her day. So I love it, but I have to, because I'm seeing now that I'm like, wait a minute, these are recent. Let's see. Norman Fink was a low-key gender critical. Yeah, okay, Kush Look. Kush Look has his matrix of gender criticality that he's going to share with us on the program, as well as his thinking behind it. Materialism is what you imagine because ideology is okay. Now that's too. I love the philosophy, but I can't do it now. Good. I'm 15 books in, probably. Well, yeah. See, Kush Look. You can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, yo. You know, is this an act of procrastination? That happens. I did that. I used to do that with reading. I'm like, oh, I'm reading, so I'm doing something. And then I thought, oh, am I reading to avoid writing? That can happen. Let's see. The thing is, I'm building the infinite fortress against the blowback. Oh my God. This. Okay, I'm gonna offline. I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna start pushing you more, Kush Look, because this is getting to be like, I can see you like 40 years from now. You'll just be with a pile of papers and still not releasing it.
He should be more like Emma Vigeland and not care, right?
Yeah, not care. Ha ha ha.
I'm going for it.
Okay, Kush Look, we love you. Or you know what I mean. All right, bye, ladies. Have a great day. You too. Okay, so I realized when like, wait a minute, we're getting more comments. Which is I feel like you can see me like we're here for 5 hours, like a marathon. Like you have to
intelligent comments, though. I mean,
yeah, it's nice.
Saying good stuff.
It's building up. It's building up, Tanya. Let's see. Hopefully, we don't get canceled. All right. Thank you very much, Tanya. Enjoy the rest of your day. And
have a good evening.
Thank you. And probably be back on sometime next week for another sex gender war update, because this one was really taking with the Trump State of the Union and the reactions and the the really bad behavior of the Democrats when it came to even the boy with 13 brain surgeries. Anyway,
so stupid. They're so stupid.
Really dumb. All right, take care, everyone. Bye, Tanya. All right, thank you very much. It's been another Morbid Symptoms podcast. I'm your host, Tara Van Dyke, and I'm going to wrap up here because it is a bit late where I'm at, and my caffeine is wearing off. So please do like, subscribe, share. I'm a bit behind on my editing, so it's like the 6th live stream that I have that I'm going to need to edit and do smaller chapters of at some point. But the unedited version is on Rumble and YouTube as well, and X if everything went well. If you want to come on the show, let me know. If you have an idea for a show, let me know. And on that note, I'm going to start the music because I usually forget to do that when I'm doing the credits, for lack of a better word. I got to go against her. All right, keep up alive, people, and I will see you next time. Bye.